If you've ever struggled with a downswing or you're even in one right now, you're going to want to listen to the next 8 minutes of this video. It's been 84 years. The famous meme from the Titanic. It feels like this so many times in our poker career. It's been 84 years since we've won a tournament, 84 years since we've final tabled a tournament, 84 years since we've held with aces, 84 years since we've even done an episode of the journey. It has been a wild ride over the last 4 weeks. If you're just tuning in for the first time, my name is Rob Gardner. I go by PokerPastor on Twitch, Rob Gardner Live on Twitter, and I stream there a couple days a week, and we're in the middle of this adventure called The Journey, a one-year project where I'm working with Ryan LaPlante and LearnProPoker to try and move from the low stakes to the high stakes. And after the first 6 weeks of this project, things were going really well. We'd had some nice scores. We'd had some final tables. We even had a couple binks, did a couple cash outs, moving up in stakes. Everything looked good. And then it all came to a crashing halt in mid-January. All of a sudden, it was like we were just one hand away from the big score over the course of a week. And then all of a sudden, we were like one hand away from a final table. And then we were like one hand away from the final table bubble. And then it was like we're one hand away from cashing. It all just came tumbling down. And if you played this game for any length of time, you know what it is like to be in one of these downswings where you start to second guess everything, where you start to doubt, where you start to play scared. You start to wonder if you're ever going to win a tournament again. The mental game really starts to kick your butt. There is a lot of things that go into downswing, and obviously variance is a part of it, and we definitely were running bad. We definitely had some really gross spots, set over set, getting aces in against kings and losing, getting aces in against ace king and losing. But a downswing is never 100% variance. There's always parts of a downswing that we are contributing to. And this is where it is so important to be surrounded by people who are going to push you, who are going to challenge you, who are going to hold you accountable, who are going to be honest with you about how you're playing. Now, after about 3.5 weeks of floundering around, Ryan pulled me and Gordo into a nice little study session. We got in, we reviewed each of our tournaments, and it did not take Ryan very long to figure out what was going on. Once we started finding some success at the tables, we really started to advance in our study, and I think we just went a little too fast and a little too hard. Started digging hardcore into the theory side of things, prepping for a move up in stakes and prepping for the day that comes where we start moving into the high stakes, and theory is going to be really important. The problem is all that theory knowledge started mixing in with our exploitative play, and I just completely convoluted my thought process. I was getting into simple spots and overthinking my decisions. I was getting into hands with weak opponents and treating them like they were strong opponents. I was literally overthinking so many decisions that I would get halfway through in a session and I would just be mentally exhausted. Now, the mistakes I was making weren't massive mistakes. I wasn't making massive punts. I wasn't getting tilted and blowing off stacks, but I was losing value in spots. 5 big blinds here, 7 big blinds here, 4 big blinds there, 9 big blinds over here. And that adds up. And when you are leaking small, consistent chunks of value over the course of a tournament, you get to the end of the tournament, and instead of getting a bad beat for half your stack and still being in, you get a bad beat that costs you your entire stack. And this was being seen again and again and again. My interaction with Ryan on that was great. He pushed me, he challenged me, he was holding me accountable for my mistakes. He was very direct with me, but he didn't make me feel like an idiot. He wasn't like screaming at me or cussing me out or anything. He was just like, you should know these things. You should know how to play an exploitative style. you're not getting it done. What's the problem? And we went through it. I talked about my study habits, and you could see as we talked about it, how convoluted things were. And so his focus for me in that session last week was just get back to the basics. Go back and review the videos we've done. Go back and review the exploitive play. Screw all the theory stuff for now. Push it to the side, get it out of the way, and just really concentrate on exploiting these players. And the one thing that he said that really, really hit me hard is he was like, these exploits, if you want to be successful in live poker, you are going to do these exploits over and over and over again. This is where your game has to be very, very sharp. And live poker is very important to me. Live poker is a realm I've always wanted to get into. I've had limited success. It's a big part of the goal of this project is to get out there on the live streets and really have some success. So that really hit home. Like, it was a wake-up call of like, okay, yeah, theory's great. We can learn theory at some point. It is important. We do need to get into it. But right now, before we start to run, we have to learn to walk, and we have got to get this down. We have got to get this down. We have got to nail this. It needs to be second nature. And I realized I just went too fast. And so over the weekend, I went back. I started going back through my videos. Ryan gave me just the basic rules that we had talked about before. And we just got into playing this exploitative style, keeping our decisions simple, pushing good equity, trusting that these players don't bluff enough and not trying to bluff catch. And my God, what a difference it made. 3 final tables on Saturday, 6 final tables on Sunday, 2 more yesterday. And after 4 weeks of putting together a nice little 2K downswing, we've already eaten half of that up in just 3 days. So the lessons I'm taking away from this: 1, don't overcomplicate things. Right? Make sure that we're in a good mindset and we're making good, simple decisions at the poker table and we're being consistent. 2, make sure that people are looking at your stuff, right? I would have been in this downswing for months if I hadn't brought Ryan in and had him look at specific hands and look at the situation. Having a coach, having a peer group of poker players around you that are coming up in the poker game together that are a similar skill level to you that you can bounce things off of. It would have taken me a lot longer to get out of this downswing without those things in play. It's amazing how just a few adjustments in your game, a few tweaks to the way you approach things, a few tweaks to your mindset, a few tweaks to your confidence can completely shift how we play at the tables and what kind of results we get. So we're back. We've got a new stream set up. That's all taken care of. We're back into a good mindset. We're playing good poker. We're making deep runs. And you know what? There may be some live poker in the future here. Things are starting to get better. The live poker scene's exploding. It would not be impossible to see me at a live poker table in the next 8 to 12 weeks, which means this month of March is all about nailing these exploits, getting them second nature, getting them into our autopilot game, and being the best exploitative poker player we can be. I hope you'll tune in over the next month because we're going to be hammering these things hard. Hopefully you'll see a lot of final tables and you'll see a lot of successful results. That's it for me. We'll see you guys next week on The Journey.